Hey y'all, it's Crystal. Welcome back to the channel. Thanks for stopping by. You know, it's that time of the week for me. We're going to do a weekly reading update. I'm just going to chat about the books that I finished, some I started, some I got in progress. You know the drill by now if you've been around the channel, so I like to do a little weekly wrap up because I won't remember by the end of the month. And I usually have a lot to talk about, so I like to kind of do the quick weekly wrap ups and go from there. So let's jump right into what I finished this past week. So I did finish up Chain Letter by Ruby Jean Jensen. This was the May pick for the From Hell Book Club, which is run by Kelly Hooked on Books. I will link her channel below, of course. Go check her out. She's great. And she runs a book club where we read a bunch of vintage horror books. So this was the May pick. I didn't quite finish it in May, so I rolled it on over to June and finished it on up. And it was pretty good. It's my second Ruby Jean Jensen. I think I liked it better than House of Illusions. Though I had fun with that one too. I mean, they're not like god awful books or anything like that. They're not the best though, you know, but this one was pretty fun. I think it plays on the chain letter. I feel like if you were like in the 80s at any point, maybe even into would they go around the 90s? I don't know, maybe. But the chain letter where, you know, you sent a letter to someone and it's like if you break the chain, you'll have bad luck or whatever. So, you know, you had to keep the chain letter going. So it really plays on that, of course, within a chain letter, which promises, you know, death and destruction to everyone if you break the chain. And that's essentially the story. And we were following a group of kind of a younger kids. They're like, you know, 11, 12-ish, and they find this old demonic chain letter, and our story goes from there. So it was fun, you know. I feel like it definitely kind of dragged in some spots. It could have been a little tighter, a little shorter, I think, actually, even though it's not crazy long. It's about 250 pages, which isn't very long, but there's still some parts I think that could have been dragged in, you know, kind of just pulled in a little bit, tightened up. But I think you really got a sense of the characters of these kids that are like starting to feel the effects of this letter. One girl in particular who really kind of, you know, this letter kind of seeps into her actions and things like that. And kids are, people are getting killed and all kinds of stuff, and things happen for sure because someone has broken the chain. So, and then they're trying to figure out like how can we end this whole thing and who started the letter. It's the whole thing. So it's definitely a lot of fun. I think it's worth a read, you know, especially if maybe you're trying to read a bunch of Ruby Jean Jensen or something like that. I think it's a fun one to read. Just don't go and expect anything too out of hand, you know what I mean? It's fun, and the ending was maybe a little predictable, but also I thought it was pretty fun, a lot of tension, and yeah, it was good. It was fun. Like I said, I think I liked it a little bit more than House of Illusions, which I read a few months ago, which was my first Ruby Jean book. So yeah, I think she's home, and I still can't. I just love her author photos. So yeah, so I finished that one up. And let's see, is that the only physical? I think that's the only physical, like with my reading with my eyes book that I finished up this week. So I had an audiobook on the go last week for my last wrap up. I did finish that towards the beginning of the month, and that is How High We Go by Sequoia Nagamatsu. I really liked this book, and I'm still thinking about this book. It is really, really good. So I'll try to talk about it without saying too much, because you really need to go in and just experience it for yourself. So at the gist of this story, the main heart of this story, it's a pandemic story. Okay, a virus that knocks out a lot of the world's population, and then kind of the fallout from that. How does humanity proceed? Right, and then there's also some commentary on climate climate crisis. So it takes place in really kind of a near future, or starts off in a near future, like 2030s. So not far from us where we are now. And, global warming has been happening, glaciers have been melting, all that good stuff. A lot of the world is underwater, that whole thing. Yeah, so our story opens up and we are following kind of an archaeological kind of expedition crew that are in Siberia, which now, of course, that most of Siberia has melted. It has unearthed like a previous kind of inhabitants of the area. So, they're finding like animals and things that have just been frozen in the ice, including a human body. And this is where the virus originates. So like I said, it spreads pretty quickly and moves throughout the globe. And yeah, so the story is told really in sort of vignettes. Each chapter is kind of following a different character, a different kind of time period. The earlier chapters being really close to being the first chapter is, of course, how everything starts, and then like really close after, like what's going on here in the early days, kind of, of the pandemic, this viral spread, and then it kind of stretches out a little bit and throughout the rest of the story. Each chapter really felt like its own kind of short story, with this virus being the thread that kind of pulls through each story, right? And some of the characters do connect through the stories. I hope that makes sense. I felt a little tongue-tied on that one. But yeah, I just really loved it. It is both very ambitious because of the ideas that were presented in this book, but also very intimate at the same time, because really each little vignette, as I said, it's very personal. It's a lot about personal relationships between family, friends, lovers, siblings. It's just really good. It's just really good. I thought it was written very well, and it hooked me right in. I was very curious to see what in the world was going on here. There are parts that are very difficult to read, I think, especially as a parent. And I'll just say, because in the early days of the pandemic, children are affected more so than grown-ups, and some of that is hard to read. Like I said, it goes to some places. It is very grand in scope, while focusing through very personal stories of these characters. I thought it was fantastic, and I really loved it. Really recommend it. The audiobook was really wonderful. Sort of each chapter, each little vignette was narrated by someone different. I always like that in an audiobook. So yeah, I dug it a lot. But if you're not into like wanting to read about a pandemic, a global, put it on the back burner. Some of it's a little close to home still, right? So put it on the back burner if you're not quite ready yet to go there. But I just thought it was really wonderful. Yeah, it was good. So after I finished that one up, I dug right into another audiobook, and I dug into Blood Meridian by Cormac McCarthy. This is, of course, for June on the Range, hosted by Michael K. Vaughn, but also a part of Ollie's over at Criminale, his birth year book tag kind of book group read-along thing that he's got going on over on his Discord. I'll link his channel below. And so he picked Blood Meridian for this month to tie into June on the Range also. So, Blood Meridian. Okay. This is actually my very first Cormac McCarthy book. He's one of those authors that I'll go through periods, or not periods. I go through weird things. I do want to read him. I don't really want to read him. I do want to read him. I don't really want. I've got a couple of his books on my shelf, and even my husband's actually read a couple of Cormac McCarthy books, and I think I've said he's not much of a reader. He reads a few books a year, kind of thing, but even he's read The Road and No Country for Old Men, and No Country for Old Men is one I really wanted to read, but anyway. So I said, you know what, I'll do the audiobook. That way it'll help me get through the story, just in case his writing's not for me or whatever, you know what I mean? Cormac McCarthy gives me this vibe sometimes too, of kind of like a dude bro. I don't know. So I've been on the fence about reading him anyway. Anyway, let's move on. But I did listen to the audiobook, and I finished Blood Meridian. And so at the end of it, I have two feelings, and I still kind of have these same two feelings. I just finished it recently. One is like, what is the point of that? Okay, I came away like, what's the point of this? Okay. I also was like, okay, damn, that was actually pretty good, you know? So I'm on like two ends of the spectrum of like, what is this book, right? Did I enjoy this book? I don't know. It is probably the most violent book I've read, and I am a horror reader who reads a lot of violent stuff. Is this the highest body count of a book I've ever read? It's pretty high up there. And it's hard to even explain this book. There's not really a plot. It's really just kind of following, in particular, this one character who we meet in the beginning, and he's known as the Kid throughout the story. We meet him in the very beginning of the book, and he's still kind of young. I think he's still like a teenager, so that's why he's called the Kid, of course. So he's from Tennessee, and he's kind of been making his way west after, just leaving his home and everything. And he kind of, gets into trouble and, bands up with different groups of, like, rowdy men, and murder basically ensues everywhere he goes. And it's really brutal. Like, of course, a lot of this takes place in the West, and we're taking a look of what it's part of, sort of like Mexico, what Mexico used to be when it used to be like New Mexico, Texas, or in the U.S. now. So I think that's kind of what I'm feeling the area was. And then as we move kind of towards California, I'm thinking maybe. And we meet this character along the way named the Judge, who's basically a mean SOB. I mean, there's just, like I said, a handful of characters. That's my son, of course. Okay, so, and basically they're like going to kill some Native Americans, they're going to kill Mexicans, they get killed, some of them get killed. It's violent, no one's is off limits, including, of course, men, old men, intellectually disabled people, like I said, women, old women, kids, infants. It's all there. So honestly, if you do not like to read violence, you do not want to read this book, because it is throughout the story. Just know that there. But, every now, I'll be reading and like I would catch this sentence, and it was just like, wow, that was really like kind of beautiful sentence. Cormac McCarthy for me definitely set a scene. It was very descriptive with what the surroundings, what's going on, and I don't, like I said, just setting the scene. I just thought I was impressed with that. So that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. My thoughts are still kind of jumbled about the meaning of this book. Is there a meaning of this book? Because I think some of it is based in truth. As I was looking up, like, what is this book about? Kind of thing. And it was a rough time, rough part of the country, I guess, back then. So, but yeah, so yeah, I'll leave it at that. With some, I don't know. Overall, I gave it 4 stars. I was impressed with the story. I was. But if you're looking kind of for like a plot, you're not going to find it too much. You're going to find a lot of characters. Through this one guy called the Kid. As he's making his way west. Like I said, meeting up with other characters along the way, that kind of thing. It's more of a, it's a tale through the West, right? But it was pretty good. I think I enjoyed it. So yeah, so I'll leave it at that. I'd say if you've been interested in reading it, go for it. If you can handle all the violence. Yeah. So, I think that's everything that I finished. Pretty good week. Lots of audiobooks. A lot of audiobook this week. But let's see. I got a couple things still in progress. I'm still making my way through the Annie Proulx short stories, Close Range. Really still loving this. I'm telling you. Exquisite writing in here. I'm just impressed thoroughly with this beautiful writing. And I'm just about finished with Jonathan Janz's Dust Devils. This is another one for June on the Range. This is a horror western. I'm gonna finish this sucker soon, baby. And I'm having a lot of fun with this one. It's like I said, it does take place out in the West in kind of the 1800s, 1880s, with this traveling kind of band of actors that might be vampires. So yeah, I'm having a good time with it. I'm enjoying it. So let's see. Oh, and I started another audiobook because why not? I did start The Troop. I forgot to bring that book up. The Troop by Nick Cutter. This is the book club pick for the Patreon book club for Rachel over at the Shades of Orange. And I'm just getting into it, just maybe chapter 6, 7, 8 or so. Yeah, just starting that one. So liking it so far. I mean, it jumps right into the story, right into the action. So that's pretty good. So I'm liking that one so far. So I'll finish that one up next week probably. And yeah, I think that's everything I've got on the go. Not sure what I'll jump into next. I'll definitely finish this soon. I don't know what I feel like jumping into next. Maybe I'll hit up the Ruins next, because that one is a bit on the longer side. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to pick, but we'll see. Let me show you a few things I picked up. I've been hitting up a little free library lately, because it's at this park that we are going to send my son to for summer camp. And so we've been taking him over there to kind of get him used to the place, that kind of stuff. And it's a solid little free library. Just yesterday, I found Black Boy by Richard Wright. I've never read this one. I'm dying to read it. I loved the other book by him that I read, Natives. Yeah, looking forward to that. I found a bunch of little cozy, maybe they're cozy mysteries, I'm not really sure, but The Fingerprint by Patricia Wentworth. Look at that cover. Nice. And this one's definitely cozy. Charlotte McLeod writing it. Oh, I have a Charlotte McLeod book. Okay. The Grub and Stakers Quiltabee. An heirloom quilt is the key to a mystery. I mean, that's not cozy. I don't know what is. Might be some good Garbagist options. Am I right? And then 2 books by Catherine, is it Aird? With some gnarly covers. This one's called A Late Phoenix. Now this is also the very best in British history. Look at this cover. What's going on here? I don't know. And then this was called Parting Breath. Looks like maybe a university, but some dude's dead on the sidewalk. I'm very intrigued. I got my book of the month choice for this month. I picked up Woman of Light by Kylie Fayaro-Anstein. I don't know. Should have practiced that beforehand. It just sounds really good. Dazzling epic of betrayal, love, and fate that spans 5 generations of an indigenous Chicano family in the American West. I mean, sold. And look at that gorgeous cover. So yeah, chose that one this month. I got my Nightworms this month's Nightworms, this month's Nightworm package yesterday. Sheesh, we got a really great package. We got 3 books. We got Stargazers by L.P. Hernandez. Look at that cover. Doesn't that look cool? So this is My Dark Library #1. So this is, I think, presented by Mother Horror, who is one of the Nightworms, founders, whatever. That's Sadie Hartman, right? So yeah. Sounds like an unfolding chaos is similar to a war veteran. City crumbles from its center, relies on old instincts to save its family. The enemy is all around, stargazers and human monsters alike. Something's going on in this little town. A Mark Allen Gunnels book. I'm very excited. Twilight at the Gates. Big Mark Allen Gunnels fan here. And this is a story collection that's kind of an ode or homage to the Twilight Zone. Very excited for that. And I was super excited to get this Ross Jeffries' new short story collection, Beautiful Atrocities. Been so very excited for that. Steve over at Steve Talks Books did a little giveaway. If you commented, either on one of his videos or over on his forum, which I'll link his channel. His forum's really nice and very cool. So go check it out. But he sent me 2 books. He sent me Drowned Kingdom, and then he also sent me a hardcover of Serafina's Lament by Sarah Chorn. He was reading this one, and it just sounded really cool in that cover. I think this is a kind of dark fantasy. The sunset lands are broken, torn apart by a war of ideology paid for with the lives of peasants. Serafina, a slave with unique talents, sets in motion a series of events that will change everything. I'm super intrigued. Last but not least, I mentioned Ollie before. I'll mention him again. Criminal Ollie over there. He's, of course, got us all together for Garb August, and he sent me a little fun mail. Look at this. An amazing romance. This is a Silhouette Desire collection. Janet Joyce, Controlling Interest. It's perfect for Garb August, of course. Really fun postcard. And then, of course, the cool bookmarks that he had made for Garb August. So fun. So yes, thank you so much, Ollie. I wasn't expecting the book. I was only expecting the bookmark. So thank you so much, and thanks again for including me in the Dirty Dozen for Garb August. So alrighty, I think that's it. This was a bit long. I do apologize. So thanks so much for watching. Let me know how your week went, what you read, or whatever, what you're watching, whatever. Let me know what's going on with you. I'd like to know in the comments. Let's chat. Thanks so much for watching. Appreciate your time, as always. So appreciative. Until next time. Bye, friends.